Hello students and welcome to next lecture of financial management. Today we are going to discuss next topic of unit 1. Our topic of discussion in today's lecture will be risk and return framework. In previous lecture we have discussed agency theory. So in continuation of previous one, today we are going to discuss about risk and return framework. Here are the learning objectives of today's lecture. The first one is to develop the conceptual understanding of risk and return. The second objective of today's lecture is to familiarize students with different types of measurement of risk and return. The third one is to apply the acquired knowledge in real life situation. And I hope that by the end of this lecture, we will be able to cover these objectives. Now let's discuss about the concept of return. It is the reward for undertaking investment. It means how much return we get from investing in any project. That is the reward for our investment. Game of investing is all about return. It means if we will get no return, then we will not invest in any project. Measurement of historical return is necessary. Why? Because to know how much the investment manager has done, that is how well and good he has done his job. Historical returns are helpful to estimate future earning. It means on the basis of historical returns, we can identify future earnings. Return can be defined as the actual income from a project as well as appreciation in the value of a capital. Thus, there are two components we find in return. The first one is current return and the second one is capital return. The basic component or the periodic cash flow from the investment, either in form of interest or dividend, it means the interest or dividend which we get by investing in any project, any shares or any debentures, that is current return or current income from that investment. And the second one is the change in the price of the asset, commonly called as capital gain or loss. If the prices of assets are increase, then there will be capital gain, and if the prices will decrease, then there will be capital loss. The term yield is often used in connection to return. It means yield is also treated as return, which refers to the income component in relation to some price for the asset. The total return of an asset for the holding period relates to all the cash flows received by an investor during any designated time period to the common amount of money invested in the asset. It means the total return will be equal to current return plus capital return. So this was all about the concept of return. Now let's talk about the types of return we get from investing in any project. The first one is current return and the second one is capital return. If I talk about current return, the first component comes in our mind when we think about return is income or the money or the periodic cash flow which we get by investing in any project. Current income is that periodic income only. It could be zero or positive, but it can never be negative. It means the current return can never be negative. We have to keep in mind this point. The second type of return, which we call capital return. The second component of return is reflected in the price changes, which is called capital return. It means if the prices will increase in future, then we will call it the capital gain, and if price will decrease in future, then it will be called as capital loss. So basically, if we have capital gain, then we will call it capital return. It is price increase or decrease in the dividend by beginning price of assets. It can be negative. It means the capital return can be negative. And the total return will be composed of these two. Total return is equal to current return plus capital return. So these are two types of return. Now let's discuss about the concept of risk. Risk is basically the possibility that actual outcome of investment will be differ from expected outcome. We all know that future is uncertain, so as the risk is uncertain, or we can say the returns are uncertain. So basically, risk is possibility that actual outcome will be different from the expected outcome. Wider range of possible outcome refers to greater chance of risk. It means wider the possibility that outcome will be differ from expectation, the greater the chance of risk is available. A person making an investment expects to get some return from the investment in the future. It means if a person is investing anywhere, basically he wants a return in future from that investment. However, as future is uncertain, we don't know what will happen in future. The future expected returns too are uncertain. It means the returns in future are also uncertain. It is the uncertainty associated with the return from an investment that introduces a risk into a project. It means return are uncertain. We don't know what will we get in future. So if returns are uncertain, it means there is chance of risk. The expected return is the uncertain future return that a firm expects to get from its project. It means the expected return are those return which a particular person expect to get in future from the project in which he has invested. The realized return, on the contrary, is the certain return that is a firm has actually earned. So expected return are those which we expect to get in future, and the realized return are those which we actually get in future. Risk is the variability in the expected return from a project. It means that return will be variable or different. We don't know what we will get in future. In other words, it is the degree of deviation. Deviation here means the difference. So basically, it is the degree of difference from expected return. It means it is the difference between expected return and the actual return. Risk is basically the difference between expected return and actual return. Risk is associated with the possibility that realized return will be less than the return that we expected. It means the risk basically is difference between expected return and actual return. So when realization correspond to expectation exactly, there would be no risk. It means if actual return and expected return will be equal, then there will be no risk. So this was all about risk. Now let's talk about the risk resources. There are three types of risk resources. The first one is business risk, the second one is interest rate risk, and the third one is market risk. Let's talk about the first one, that is business risk. Business risk refers to the possibility of inadequate profits due to uncertainties in a commercial business making. It means it is related to a particular business. It means poor business performance due to many factors such as changing taste of consumer, changing preference of consumers, strikes, increased competition, changing government policies and obsolescence, etc. So this was the business risk. It means it is related to a particular business and not to the industry. The second one is interest rate risk. Interest rate risk is the potential for investment losses that result from a change in interest rate. It means if the interest rates will be changed, then there will be interest rate risk. If interest rates rise, for instance, the value of a bond or other fixed income investment will decline. The change in a bond's price given a change in the interest rates is known as its duration. The third one is market risk. Market risk is the possibility of an investor experiencing losses due to factors that affect the overall performance of the financial markets in which he or she is involved. The business risk, the first one was related to particular business, but market risk is related to all or the whole market. Market risk, also called systematic risk, which cannot be eliminated through diversification, though it can be hedged against in other ways. Sources of market risk include recession, political changes, changes in interest rates, natural disasters, and terrorist attacks. systematic or market risk tend to influence the entire market at the same time. So the main difference between business risk and market risk is that business risk is related to particular business and the market risk is related to whole market. So this was all about the risk resources. Now look forward to the types of risk. So we have two types of risk here. The first one is unique risk. It represents that portion of total risk which stems from firm specific factor. It means the unique risk is related to business risk because in this also we look forward to the specific or the particular risk. For example, develop a new product, labor strike, competitors, etc. So these all are specific factors related to firm separately. It can be offset by choosing diversified portfolio. It means the unique risk can be diversified by using portfolio. Unique risk is also called diversifiable risk because it can be diversifiable by choosing portfolio. Portfolio means various securities in one basket so that risk can be diversified. And unique risk is also called unsystematic risk. The second one is market risk. It represents that portion of risk which is related to economic factors. We have already discussed market risk. Market risk means that risk which is related to whole market. For example, growth rate of GDP, money supply, interest rate structure. All these risks are related to whole market. This risk cannot be avoided due to greater or lesser degree. This risk cannot be avoided, so we call it non-diversifiable risk. And we also call it systematic risk. So we have discussed two types of risk, that is unique risk and market risk. Now let's discuss about the measurement of return. The return can be measured in three ways. The first one is total return. Total return is equal to cash payment received during the period plus price change over the year divided by price of investment at the beginning. Total return can be positive or zero. Cash payment received during the period means the interest or dividend which we get during the period or during the year, plus price change over the period means the changes in price starting from the beginning till the end. So as I have told you earlier that total return can be positive or zero, but it can never be negative. R here means the total return. Total return or R is equal to C. C here means the cash payment received during the period plus PE minus PB. P means price at the end and PB means price in the beginning divided by PB, that is price in the beginning. So R or the total return is equal to C plus bracket start PE minus PB bracket close divided by PB. So from this formula we can divide it in two, that is in the current return and the capital return. Current return formula will be C divided by PB. C means the cash payment received during the period divided by PB. PB means the price in the beginning. And capital return formula will be PE minus PB divided by PB. P means price at the end and PB means price in the beginning. So the total return formula can be divided into two formula, that is in current return and capital return because total return is always equal to current return plus capital return. So this was the total return formula for measurement of return. The next formula for calculating return is arithmetic return. We can compare arithmetic return formula with arithmetic mean formula. When we have assets for multiple holding period, it is necessary to aggregate the returns into one overall return, same as in case of arithmetic mean. In their case also we calculate an average value for overall. So here in arithmetic mean or arithmetic return we also calculate one value, that is one average value for overall values. So an arithmetic mean is a simple process of finding the average of the holding period returns. Let's take an example. If a share has returned 15%, 10%, 12%, and 3% over the last 4 years, then the arithmetic mean or the arithmetic return will be is equal to 15% plus 10% plus 12% plus 3% divided by 4, because these are the return of last 4 years. Then it will be is equal to 10%. It means 10% is the average or the arithmetic return of last 4 years. The next formula for calculating return is geometric mean return. We can compare geometric mean return formula with compound interest formula. Computing a geometric means follows a principle similar to the computation of compound interest. The previous year's returns are compounded to the beginning value of the investment at start of the new period in order to earn returns on your returns or the investment. So here in geometric mean we basically consider time value of money, which we have discussed in second lecture of financial management. So keep in mind that point. A geometric return provides a more accurate presentation of the portfolio value growth than an arithmetic return. It means geometric mean formula is more representative than arithmetic return formula. Using the same annual return which we have taken in previous example, that is in arithmetic return, we will calculate the geometric mean return. So as per geometric mean return, the formula to calculate the compound interest was 1 plus r to the power n minus 1. So here in geometric mean return, it will be taken as 1 plus 15% into 1 plus 10% into 1 plus 12% into 1 plus 3% to the power 1 by 4 minus 1. So the geometric mean return will be 9.9%. So we have noted that geometric mean is slightly less than the arithmetic return. So these were the three types of formula to measure return which we have discussed in today's lecture. Now let's discuss about the last topic of today's lecture, that is measurement of risk. There are various formula to measure the risk, but we will consider only 4 as these are most important formula to calculate risk. And these are: the first one is range analysis, the second is probability distribution, the third one is standard deviation, and the fourth one is coefficient of variation. So let's discuss with the first one, that is range analysis. Where different returns from an asset are possible under different circumstances, then more than one forecast of the future returns may be made. These returns may be regarded as optimist, most likely, and the pessimist. Range is basically the difference between the highest possible rate of return and the lowest possible rate of return. It means it is the difference between highest value and the lowest value. According to this measurement, an asset having greater range is said to be more risky than the one having lesser range. We will understand this point with the help of this example. So here two assets are given, asset A and asset B. So if we talk about asset A, then the highest possible return is 14 and the lowest possible return is 10. So the difference between highest possible return and the lowest possible return in asset A is 4. And if I talk about asset B, then lowest possible return is 6 and the highest possible return is 18. So the difference between these two will be 12. So here we can say that asset B is having greater range of return. So it is treated as more risky. So if any asset is more risky, then it will give high returns. And if asset is less risky, then it will give low returns. The second formula to measure risk is probability distribution. The risk associated with an asset can be measured more accurately by the use of probability distribution than the range analysis, as the range is based on two extreme values, that is highest value return and the lowest return value. The probability of an event represents the chances of its occurrence. For instance or example, if the chance of an event taking place is 3 out of 5, it can be said to have 60% chance or the 0.60 probabilities. As we know that percentage is a relative measure. So it is always better to use relative measure than absolute measure. The formula for calculating probability distribution will be ER refers to expected return is equal to summation PI into RI. PI means the possibility associated with ith possible outcome and RI is rate of return for the ith possible outcome. So this is probability distribution formula to measure the risk. The next formula to measure risk will be standard deviation. Standard deviation is the most common quantitative measure of risk of an asset. Unlike the range, it considers every possible event and weights equal to its probabilities assigned to each event. While calculating range, we used to take two values, that is highest and the lowest, but while calculating standard deviation, we consider each and every value given. Standard deviation is a measure of dispersion around the expected or average mean value. The formula to calculate standard deviation will be S is equal to summation x minus x bar square divided by n under root, where S is the standard deviation of a sample, the summation means the sum of, x means each value in dataset, the x bar is average or the mean of all values in the dataset, and n is equal to number of values in the dataset. And the last formula to measure the risk will be coefficient of variation. Standard deviation is an absolute measure of dispersion and it may give misleading results if the alternative assets differ in size of expected returns. In such a case, coefficient of variation may be used as a better measure of risk, as coefficient of variation is a relative measure and relative measure is always better to use. So coefficient of variation is a relative measure of dispersion in which risk per unit of expected return is calculated as below. It means the formula to calculate coefficient of variation will be is equal to standard deviation divided by mean. CV means the coefficient of variation is equal to standard deviation. This is the sign of standard deviation divided by EE means the average or the mean. So these were the four formula which we used to measure the risk. Here I have given you some practice question which will help you in self-evaluation. The first one is explain risk and return with reference to financial management, and you also have to discuss measurement of risk and return. The second question is what do you mean by return and explain total return with formulas. The third question is discuss various type of risk, and I hope you will be able to answer these questions. Here is the list of references which I have used to prepare this video lecture. You can go through these links if you want to go in more details. Now I would like to wind up. Thank you.